It's the list and your boy with
Jimmy Van
and
Sean Ross Sapp.
Fightful.com. Yeah.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to Fightful's List and Your Boy. It's a special day. It's List and Your Boy number 300. Jimmy, I used to have a bit where I'd be like, it's the episode we've always waited for. List and Your Boy number 132.
Yep.
This is a big one. 300. I suspect that you had that intro made, so I would lean out of changing the name because I would be like, oh, look at this great intro that he had made. I can't change it now.
Yeah, no, actually, that's not true at all. That's not true at all. The reason I had it made was because the other one used the 200 song.
Yeah.
And so I thought, we were just kind of getting past it. And we had this Roman Reigns thing in the can. And I thought we should make use of that. So, no, that had nothing to do. As a matter of fact, I told you about a conversation I had with Jordan Cooper. That happened at around this.
It's going to piss me off. Listen, I'm going to tell you guys a little behind the scenes news. There are things that I had pitched like a year ago. And if this person, or especially Chris Van Vliet, that's my favorite one. I just told Chris this weekend, I was like, next time I want to raise, I'm just going to tell him that you recommended it, Chris.
That would never
happen. Because he listens. It's like, Chris, he just listens to anything you say.
No, that's not true at all. That's not true. I
asked for a short content video editor over a year ago, and you're like, Kyler. And I was like, Kyler can't do all these. Well, then Chris Van Vliet rolls up, and he's like, yeah, guys, with his Pixar dad looking face, guys, I'm doing really, really well with short form content. And then all of a sudden, here we are.
And well, if I remember right, you said, I'll look into shorts this summer. This was like in the spring. You said, I'll look into it this summer.
I was already going to.
So I did it myself. I took care of it myself,
Yeah. Well, we're doing good.
That's how I ended up on this podcast. You remember, right?
We're going to talk about how this podcast ended up happening. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to share a personal story as well. So this show, 300 episodes old. Like if we had done it every single week, we'd be like beyond 350. But I travel, you travel, things happen. For a while, we did the List and Your Girl with Denise, and was very fortunate to have her join in. Lately, I've just turned it into like, when you're not here, what do you guys want to talk about? Because it is a very engaging show and it makes us some good money. But a lot of people don't realize that for the first 6 months of Fightful, Jimmy and I did not speak video, phone, anything. We had one phone conversation, and it was the one that got me hired. So again, I know enough about Jimmy Van to know he is not a con man or a grifter at that point, which at that point in my career might have rocked with one anyway.
Maybe. Yep.
But 2 years before I went to Fightful, I had a very, very terrible experience somewhere else where they had me abandon all my jobs, abandon everything to agree to terms with them, and then quickly fired me when the fruits of that labor were not immediately realized. So the first 6 months of Fightful, I am very, very aware that the money out is not as much as, or is way more than the money in. So, I'm on a month-to-month deal effectively, and I'm like, oh my God, am I going to get fired? Am I going to get fired? I was worried about it nonstop, like constantly. And I knew that if I actually got the opportunity to see the vision that I had and you had for Fightful through, it would bear fruit. It would end up being successful, but we didn't have a lot of those face-to-face conversations. We didn't have any of them. And you would tell me, you would kind of shrug it off. You'd be like, why are you worried? Why are you worried? And I was like, well, there are reasons. The reason for that was at that time, I wasn't making a lot of money before. And my grandmother, who I've taken care of financially for quite a while before that, had been trying to retire for a very long time. She tried in her 60s, wasn't able to financially. And I'd still help her out when I could, but I was having trouble making ends meet too. And I remember after the first episode of List and Your Boy that we did, we talked a little bit off the air, and you're like, you got to stop worrying about this. Like, as long as I have a say in this, Fightful is going to be a thing. You're going to be here. And I know you don't remember that conversation, but right after that show, I drove straight to my grandmother's house and I told her to retire. And she has not worked since then.
Awesome.
Because I was able to take care of her. That's what this show means to me, because she wasn't ever in a position to do that. And, you know, it wasn't a situation like she was in a lavish house or anything like that. But my grandmother never, ever had to work after that. And I want to say thank you for that, because that was very important to me.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, I've known this stuff about your grandmother recently, but I don't recall that part of it. So that's awesome to hear. And, you know, the funny thing is anybody who wasn't with us at the very beginning, my initial vision for Fightful was kind of what ad-free shows became, really.
Yeah.
Because my initial vision was to have a bunch of different celebrities or personalities and do a different podcast every day with a different personality. Yeah. That was my vision. And I guess the mistake I made was I didn't go after Bruce Pritchard. I didn't go after Eric Bischoff.
We had a brief conversation with Bruce Pritchard.
Really?
So it wasn't in relation to that, but there were a lot of people that I reached out to. I reached out to Sean Waltman. Brian Zane won't remember it, but I reached out to him. I reached out to Sean Oliver. I reached out to a lot of people. I feel like I might have even reached out to Ryback. Like a lot of people who were heavy in like free, not under contract. But I didn't reach out to Bruce for that. I reached out because Conrad had said something like, oh, hey, we're thinking about getting into the podcast space. If anybody's interested, hit us up. Well, I later heard from Court Bauer, there was never a plan for anybody else. It was always MLW Radio. Maybe they were trying to leverage against me type of thing. But I love what Conrad has created with ad-free shows. I mean, I'll tell you this. That's where I got the FightfulSelect.com idea from, because you could probably count on two hands the number of times I promoted Patreon, because FightfulSelect.com is a lot easier. And that's become a very common thing in wrestling with exclusive content pages. You won't see people like promoting OnlyFans or Brand Army as much. You'll see them like official whatever.
Yeah.
But Ryback was not going to be a lead insider. I just wanted podcast personalities, Jimmy.
Yep. I mean, that was my vision. That's what I wanted to do. And at the very beginning, we had Matt Riddle was doing a wrestling one for us. Russo was doing one. Hurricane Helms was doing one. On the MMA side, we had Showdown Joe was doing one. And Frank Trigg was doing one.
Elias Theodore, rest his soul.
Yeah, the late Elias Theodore. And if I'm being honest, the reason I started... Sean Pearson. That's right. Yeah. The reason I started doing this podcast is because we were having issues with some of those personalities where either their internet was shit or they'd be trying to do a podcast on their phone while walking down the street.
Or perhaps high off their fucking asses.
Or that too. Yeah. And so I remember I was thinking at the time, and I might have even told you, I mean, I know somebody that I can depend on, and that would be myself. And I remember you said to me after the first episode, you said, I didn't even know, like, can this guy talk on camera? Is this guy going to be presentable? Right. But it's worked out. And here we are all these years later, still doing it. And
it's worked out very well. And I mean, like Riddle coming in, like let me tell you, when Russo got kicked to the curb, and I know he's rewrote history on that, but after he had submitted the reviewing Raw in the eyes of a 10-year-old, I had told you, I don't ever want to work with this guy again. And some unfortunate stuff happened in his family that made him not want to work for anybody else as well, but he wasn't going to be here regardless. I was like, man, we had good chemistry on the show, but like, I didn't really want to deal with a personality like that again. And, you know, the Riddle thing got brought up, and I was like, he can do MMA, he can do wrestling. We got along fairly well. We don't really talk these days, but Shane Helms was one that, oh my God, I just loved the stuff that he does, because a lot of people don't know he was a really good amateur wrestler as well. He followed MMA. So we had these personalities like Riddle, who had been in the UFC and was a wrestler. Shane Helms, who followed UFC heavily, could just continue that conversation with me. Elias Theodore, who also followed pro wrestling and had entertained the idea of pro wrestling. By the way, Rest in peace, Elias Theodore. We really, really missed it. But yeah, we really miss him. But it was really cool that we got so many great personalities on. But ultimately, as we have found with myself and Denise, myself and you, the guys at Grapsity, sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes you don't necessarily need that type of name to do stuff like this.
Yep, for sure. Things have worked out good. And I guess this leads us to the whole rebrand story that you were going to tell. And I loved how you said, oh, that really pissed me off, because I told Sean somebody else kind of put the idea in my head to make a change. But go ahead and tell your story, Sean.
I had pitched the idea to change the name of the show. I have always hated the name of the show. Ya boy was just a thing I would sarcastically say on the air for like 6 months. We sold a few shirts. Shop.fightful.com. And the list was something from Chris Jericho that was a popular storyline back then. And I've been wanting to change the name forever. And I wanted like Fightful Live or something like that, generic. Right. But The Hump is one that I thought of that was really good. But I hated the idea of changing to The Hump, because I know a lot of people would think, oh, well, it's a parody of The Bump. No, it would not be. It's because we do Humper Chats. We've got a camel as our mascot. And it's the middle of the week. It just makes an awful lot of sense. And we say that matches Hump, of course. But yeah, I wanted to rebrand it. Jimmy's like, I don't know. But then you had an interaction that sort of turned you on to it.
Yep. There's a guy named Jordan Cooper. I think you know him, right? He does stuff with John Elba.
Okay. Yes, I do.
So we were talking one day because he did stuff with Know Your News. And he mentioned just matter-of-factly, because he didn't know that we've been talking about the name. He mentioned matter-of-factly, I watched your podcast with my girlfriend, and she's always confused about the name. Like she's like, what is it? The Listen What? And when he said that, that planted the seed in my head. And that got me thinking, okay, maybe if you're a relatively new viewer, it doesn't make any sense.
Sure.
So that got me thinking about it. And you know me, I do my due diligence. So I talk to people that know YouTube. Is it okay with the words, the hump? Is that going to like go against the YouTube algorithm? And I kind of got the green light on that. And then I listened to the people, Sean. I saw the live chat. I saw the YouTube comments. Everybody seemed to like the hump. So the only thing I told Sean is I want Fightful branding in there. And I think you said, okay, I'll go with Fightful's The Hump. So I said, fine.
Here we go, guys.
We can be Fightful's The Hump.
Next week, Fightful's The Hump begins. We're going to hastily get some graphics drawn up. I told Jimmy the benefit of this podcast frame is it doesn't say listen, you boy, anything like that. So it is Fightful's The Hump moving forward. And people are very, very excited. Humpers unite. We're humping next Wednesday. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. And while I have you guys here, don't forget, humperchats.com. Get your question or statement read on the air. We have a bunch of super chats over here at youtube.com/Fightful. Please leave a thumbs up on this video. Please subscribe as well. And all that good stuff. We're nearing 100,000. And before I read these super chats, I just want to say, like, I'll be very emotional and sentimental when we hit that as well, because I don't think you guys understand how hard it was at times with this channel, like just trying to figure out how a lot of things work and doing it on our own. So we didn't have to hire somebody because we wanted to keep the budget appropriate. But our channel got completely nuked for like 2 months, and it really, really hurt Fightful. Fake copyright claims, actually from Warner of all people.
And it wasn't against us. It was against the channel. Yeah.
It was against a sister channel that had nothing to do with us.
Yep.
And finally we got it back. We talked to a wonderful woman at YouTube and Google. I believe her name is Samantha. Gosh, I wish I remembered her name off the top, because it's been years, who really helped us out and really went to bat for us and really did a lot to get us back on here. And over the last year, especially, our numbers have been climbing. We've been doing a lot more shorts and all that. But let's get to these super chats. Greg Nelson, who made one of the figures you see behind me, says, happy 300, my dudes. Started watching you guys around episode 200. Thanks for keeping me entertained the past 2 years. Yeah, we're going to have to figure out like an intro and stuff, Jimmy.
It's already in my head, Sean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get something going.
Yeah, we got all kinds of people who put over Fightful now. We got Cody Rhodes saying thank you, Fightful, as well. Listen, we got a lot. Greg, thank you so much. KE775 says, congrats, guys.
Sorry, I want to say something. Sorry, I want to say something quickly. Gregory Nelson was my inspiration to make your custom action figure.
Yeah, I know. Great guy. Yeah. Just a wonderful guy. Dante says, it was random hearing Jimmy Van on Dark Side of the Ring. Did they ask about using that clip or did they just do it? They asked. You had to sign a release, Jimmy.
Yep. And kind of a similar side note, many years ago, and you'll know why I'm telling you the story. Many years ago, I wrote an article about Owen Hart when he passed away back in 1999, and I put it on my old website at the time. And a newspaper picked it up and ran it on the front of their sports page without telling me.
Oh,
and
that is plagiarism.
Yeah. Well, they put my name and everything. They credited me for it, but they didn't tell me.
Plagiarism. Yeah.
So what happened was at the time I was younger. I was naive. I did not know about the law the way that I do now. And so all I said was send me like 10 free copies and we're good. And they like FedEx them the next day. And it wasn't until I got a little older and I thought to myself, man, I could have really taken advantage of that.
Yeah.
But so yes, Darkside did reach out and they did ask us if they could utilize that clip. And yeah, it was nice to see. I want to talk later about the Giannetti episode because he was your favorite when you were a kid.
He was.
But it was cool to see. It's cool to see that yesterday.
Taylor says, congrats on 300 episodes, and here's to 300 more. How about 0 more? How about 300 of the hump? Where's the We Didn't Start the Fire parody, Sean? I'm not familiar with the reference, Van Twinblade. I'm sorry. We've got Caden says, you're welcome for finding app numbers. Big thank you to Caden. At one point, I just said, hey, what number are we on? Because I stopped putting a number on them. But big thank you to Caden. Kate says, happy 300. Wonderful fellas. Kate, we appreciate you so much. Happy 300, says Brent Lockman. Even though you insist you are a journalist, Sean, you have the ethics of one. That's what keeps me here. All the best to you in Fightful. I like to say I'm media. And even my own wife is like, hey, what do you classify yourself as? And I'm like, media, because it's subjective entertainment. And a lot of this is, it ain't that serious by and large. There's some stuff that is, though.
That's a very all-encompassing term, too. That includes YouTube. That includes everything.
Yeah. Daypark 14 says Jimmy should suspend SRS for statistically announcing this is the 300th episode, like the Orioles suspended their broadcaster. Have you seen this, Jimmy?
Yes, I have, and that's embarrassing. That's
incredibly embarrassing.
I cannot believe how bad that was. Yeah,
I kept waiting for him to say like some racial or sexual slur, and then it just never happened.
Yes, I agree.
I'll tell you one thing that I'm happy that we suspended, and it's the use of producers. Do you remember I think it was a special video that we did, we had Trevor Strong do a song, and he said, oh, we had 4 producers until we found one that stuck. And they ain't here anymore, Jimmy. Here's your producer. And I'm happy to say we will never see another producer again. Nigel's gone. Melissa's gone. Camilla's gone. And
hi. What was that? What were you saying, John?
Who invited you?
I don't need to be invited. I control everything.
Melissa's going to like this reference. Sean, cat got your tongue?
Very clever. Very clever.
Mel knows what that means.
What is there like some special reference to that besides the general reference of it?
Her house cat went missing for 2 days. They thought that he was gone, and they found him this morning.
Really?
Yep.
Where was he?
He showed up. He literally just showed back up. Fatter than when he was the last time we saw him.
Oh, he's been inside somewhere.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think so too.
Your cat's cheating on you. For sure.
So if no one has seen this before, you should look on our YouTube channel. We had the first ever cinematic match before WWE did it. We did it before WWE did it, and Melissa defeated Sean Ross Sapp for the Fightful Championship. And it turned out real well too.
Twice.
Those aren't important. And then she gave the Fightful Championship to Joel Pearl, who has never defended it. There's definitely absolutely not year-plus old footage that we haven't edited of that whole situation either. Like, definitely wasn't something that we filmed and completely forgot about. and will pop up here in a couple weeks or a couple months since
Yep.
Melissa's back here. Definitely not.
You definitely never challenged Joel for that title. That definitely,
I definitely never beat the living shit out of Joel Pearl with a novelty-sized dildo inside of a Toronto office.
Uh-huh.
That never happened. That didn't happen at all.
Yeah.
There's not footage of that.
Nope. Well, good to see you, Mel.
Good to
Good
see you,
to
Mel.
see you, Jimmy. Not good to see Sean. This bit has gone on too long. You gave this man 300 episodes. His ego is the size of my house.
It really
this
is.
has gone on too long. Jimmy.
Well,
What are we doing?
Well,
you're not wrong. Mel's not wrong.
You live where you live, so I mean, of course, it's not going to be. That's not like an insult. You live in like a studio apartment. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you because what I have taught you throughout all these years is to be humble. I have. That was something that I really wanted to hammer home to you, and I finally did. You're living a humble lifestyle, and I think it's kind of cool that nobody knows who you are, what you do, or anything about your life, that you're good at anything, assuming that you are good at anything. I find that kind of endearing.
You know, one of the things I'm really good at is kicking your ass. I've done it a couple times now. You want to make it a third?
Anyway, let's get rid of Melissa. Melissa, we want to thank her so much for joining the show. Happy 300. Just so glad that she came by so we could relive history a little bit. But
and on a serious side note, there's a very short list of people who I trust to the point that anything they say I take to the bank. Melissa's on that list, and she knows it.
So. 100% Fightful would be nowhere near where it is without Melissa.
100%.
And I mean that sincerely. Melissa, when you say, hey, Melissa, need help with this. I don't know how this is. It's never an I don't know with Melissa. It's an I'll find out from Melissa.
Always.
And that is something I always tell people, and something I kind of learned working with Melissa that is very beneficial. The answer shouldn't be I don't know. It should be I'll find out. That goes a very, very long way. And not only is it an I'll find out, she then does find out. So
I think it's time that we post that cinematic match again, maybe on Twitter, maybe make a short out of it, Sean.
No, not Twitter. Please, God, not Twitter. Jimmy, I can't show up and do a DDT well and have people leave me alone. Like when I do stuff that's good in the ring, people still bury me. I don't want people seeing that. But we do have a ton of super chats, a ton of humper chats, and some of them are wrestling related. So let's get into it.
Some of them.
Yeah. Brian says, Jimmy and Sean, I know Vince guesses are ambiguous. How serious do you think this round gets in spine surgery? Is spine surgery the 2023 version of the neck brace? To some degree, but I mean, he did have that surgery, Jimmy.
You know that for sure?
I'm very, very sure. Yes.
So
pretty sure.
I was going to talk about this later. So yesterday, which would have been August the 8th, Endeavor announced that they intend to take control of WWE and close the deal in mid-late September. So a little over a month away. And this news was announced just a week after WWE disclosed that Vince was raided by the feds. 4 days before his supposed surgery, he was raided by the feds. And so I'm going to be very curious to see what happens, because
me too.
If the government decides that they have enough on Vince to press charges, we'll see what happens to him as chairman of the NewCo. I think what'll probably happen, if that happens, is he'll remain chairman, but he'll kind of remain on the sidelines pending the outcome. And if he's found guilty, he'll be out. But this is going to make someday, because this is like a movie, like a real life movie. Someday this is going to make a hell of a movie. And, you know, I know a thing or two about kind of underground politics, corporate politics. It would not surprise me, Sean, someday if we find out that somebody connected to Endeavor tipped off the government or tipped off authorities, because this was their way of getting them out.
It's so funny because last year people go, oh, why didn't wrestling journalists break the Vince news? Well, because it was specifically fed to who they fed it to, because they wanted it to maximize. Yes. I'm very aware that had they fed that to me, it wouldn't have made a blip on the radar as far as getting Vince the hell out of there. But they know what they're doing.
I think so too. And you know, I've talked about this. Ari Emanuel, when they announced the deal, even though he was on television kissing Vince's ass, and yes, we absolutely wanted him involved, I don't buy it. I think that he told Vince, I think he told Vince what he wanted to hear to get the deal and to get a cash-free deal. And would not surprise me if you know, there was a little tip off. But we'll see. We'll see where this thing goes. It's pretty fascinating.
Andy says letting Reigns decide when he loses is a conflict of interest. He won't lose to Cody or pre-eclipsing Hogan's record. We saw how it went with the NWO and WCW. P.S. Fightful Post collab, please. I love the guys at Post. I got to talk with them this weekend. I really admire how they do things. And KE775 says, Sean, your Roman story made me think of Starrcade 97 with Roman telling Triple H that doesn't work for me, brother. Well, WWE is in on this as well. Like, they are very much business is great. I don't equate it yet with Starrcade 97 because Hulk Hogan went out of his way to make a booking decision that was good look absolutely terrible. Hulk Hogan actively ruined that situation. So far, I think Reigns is like, let's see where this goes type of thing. But we published a story on FightfulSelect.com, best $5 in the business, that Roman Reigns will lose the title whenever the fuck he wants, Jimmy, is what I was told by a higher up.
I mean, you know what? We can go deep into SummerSlam later, but sure. The booking of his matches, I've been bored of it for a year, at least a year. I mean, I
am now. I've been bored of it the last couple of months. The Sammy thing extended it. The Cody thing extended it.
I mean, the story itself has been, you know, fine up until this Jimmy Uso thing, but the match booking, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, Cody, Jey Uso, it's the same. Like he needs a ton of outside interference, and it's the same, and it's been the same. And if I'm being honest, watching SummerSlam on Saturday, I zoned out during the main event because it was the same. They're solo. You know what I mean? It was the same. So I'm kind of getting tired of it. And I saw somebody on social media, they suggested Gunther's reign has been better than Roman Reigns. And I agree. You know, Gunther's beating everybody and he's beating them clean.
Okay. So in that sense, I agree. I do think that there's been better stories in Romans.
Oh, 100%. No question. No question. The bloodline is the biggest story in a quarter century.
Being put over clean, I think, is a very, very important part. We've got, let's see, where are we? Xavier saying, congrats on 300. I have to ask any AEW streaming news. They're still hatching that out, but All In's going to be on pay-per-view, unfortunately.
And I saw something about, I believe, Dynamite now, the original episodes are streaming. Is it on the TBS app?
Yes.
I saw that. So, I mean, that's something. It's something.
Yeah. We've got Zach Schimmel, who's been a longtime supporter of us, says, congrats on 300 episodes. I remember Melissa cheating at 100, the video package of 200. I look forward to 400 as a lifetime supporter of Fightful. Jimmy, you did a phenomenal job hiring SRS and the build of Fightful. Well, I mean, this is like changing the SmackDown Women's Championship to the heavyweight championship type of thing. Like, that's what this is. It's still listing you boy in spirit. We will be the hump moving forward. But we used to do a lot more bits and videos on this show.
We did.
And I used to be in Canada a lot more. Those opportunities presented themselves. We will be doing some of those. I've got a project coming up in December that we'll probably see some bits featured on this show for. And I mean, I guess I got to show you all the stuff that's been sitting in the can for over a year too.
Yeah, we should get back to it, to doing some of that stuff.
I agree.
Like, I got off of it for a while because we started getting kind of legitimate, and I thought
with that.
Well, I thought like people are tuning in now because they want the wrestling news. They don't want the bullshit. But you know, maybe we'll start throwing some.
But I mean, also there are an insane amount of wrestling fans that have zero sense of humor, and they think that literally everything that we do is supposed to be serious, and we're not supposed to. The number of times you've gotten tweets, it's like, Sean Ross Sapp isn't professional after I said some horrible thing about his family. Like, you know, some people are going to be bad faith actors no matter what. Any update on Nick Aldis? Congrats on 300. Yeah, there have been WWE talks. He was, I think, there this week training as a producer. Rock Hard says early on, I wasn't that great to SRS, especially around the time of the budget cuts of 2021. Sean's always been respectful of me, and my respect has been immeasurable since then. Joel, I appreciate you. I think you are a pretty good indication that anybody that's like, oh, Sean does this, Sean threatens this person. Buddy, I ain't saying anything to anybody that isn't disrespectful or terrible to me or somebody that I love or just people in general. If you say, I don't like AEW, I'm not going to block you. If you say, I don't like AEW, and then you make a bunch of personal attacks afterwards, I'm probably going to block you, whatever company that is. Does that mean Select gets the hump goes on? It'll probably still be the list goes on. Just I'll keep it. The list goes on.
That one came in from Jordan Cooper, who put the idea in my head to change the name of the podcast.
Jordan, you son of a bitch. Amber says, congrats on 300 and for all you do. Love learning from you both. Next week, a new era begin. Fightful's the hump. Look at that. So the other day, Jimmy, I had somebody say, one of those bad faith people, always thought it was weird. SRS has so many female contributors. And I said, listen, if you guys want your outlets to have a 1 to 2% female demographic, by all means, keep that. And we will keep the wonderful, educated women that want their voices represented. And Amber just spoke that truth. She wants the hump. This is the type of people we attract.
And if we're being honest, I mean, people like Denise and Kate, they're not working with Fightful just because they're female. Like Denise and Kate have a lot to offer, which is why they're here.
There has never been a woman that I've hired at Fightful that I hired just because they were a woman. Anna Bauert was the perfect person for it. Trina was the perfect person for it. Cresta, Iridian, Denise, Kate, any number of people were just Danielle Ortiz was a fantastic news writer as well. Like they're very good. I mean, for the large part on the administrative end, between Lindsay, Melissa, and Shanty, like it's a largely female run company from an administrative standpoint. Mm-hmm. We got Adam Pearson saying, congrats to two of my favorite people on the 300th episode. Keep up the good work. Here's to 300 more. Mike Straw, another good friend of the show, says, congrats to the two of you. So proud to be a small part of the Fightful history. You all deserve nothing but success. Man, one day, if we can ever get Fightful Gaming up and going as a full-time thing, I'd love to have Mike Straw doing more stuff with us. He's a wonderful guy. Darren says, well done on 300. Enjoy the episodes with Richard Holiday and Lufisto. We can we have more Melissa? No, we can't. I'll say this. I'm very proud of the Richard Holiday interview. I wish more people would give it the same attention they gave to the Lufisto stuff. He opens up about Hodgkin's lymphoma, AEW, WWE, MLW. That guy is awesome, and he's going to do incredible things. Sean, can you share the backstage reaction to the Lufisto interview? There were some women that contacted me, and they're like, yeah, but this. And the dudes I talked to were like, she's kind of right about some of it. And she's like, didn't need to do a full interview about it, but hey, you can go to my Backstage Report podcast on FightfulSelect.com from this past week. I talked about it at length. April says, congrats on 300 episodes. I missed the old intro strong. 300 strong. You know what? We've got it right here. We're going to play a hit for you just because you asked. Where are we at here? There we go.
How much of this?
It's the list and your boy at Fightful.com. With Jimmy Van and Sean Ross Sapp. They're on fire. Boom shakalaka.
200 strong.
I was very proud of having that intro made. We got to pay homage to a lot of other people in the industry that I respected. We got a little retro thing. I got the guy from NBA Jam to do our voiceover. That's pretty cool. Made me very, very happy. Made me happy. Van Twinblade says, we didn't start the fire. The Billy Joel song where he lists a bunch of things that have happened since he was born. You could just list from the 300 episodes of the show. Ultimate Warrior cutout attacking Jimmy Van was a good one.
There was a lot.
Jim Cornette responding to Jimmy's Vince Russo inquiry was an all-timer.
Mike Tyson marijuana.
The Mike Tyson marijuana situation.
You and I had a fight on the air because you said
you had a fight on the air.
Sean said that WWE did not tamper with MLW contracts, and I said they did. That's kind of
and you were somewhat right.
Somewhat
right. But we had me going to Canada numerous times. That was a lot of fun. We've done live shows in several studios. I really liked the last one too. That was a very
good.
cool. That was a fun setup there.
If you come back before my new place is ready, we'll go there again.
Okay. Jimmy Fingers says, congrats on 300, guys. Sean, been a supporter of yours since well before Fightful. Not sure why you have me blocked, but just the same as I'm happy to see how far you've come and the success you've achieved. Jimmy, you're a class act as well. Send the Fightful account your handle, and Kyler will tell me. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've got an extension called the Mega Blocker app, extension. And if I see something really, really terrible about me or one of my friends or somebody in general, I run the Mega Blocker extension, and it automatically blocks everybody that likes or will like that post. So that's how I keep a lot of riffraff out. Kurt says, Sean, is RJ officially signed? Yeah, he's full-time with the company. Jimmy, do you like Hey EW? Thanks, guys. Favorite show of the week. Congrats on 300.
So I admittedly don't watch it often, but I love RJ
Shocked.
City. RJ I think is very funny, very quick-witted, really good with the one-liners. But no, I don't watch it on a regular basis.
He's a brilliant guy. Don't tell him I said that. Rock Hard says, I know a bunch of layoffs are likely, but I'm thinking guys like Regal and other Triple H guys. Do you think they're somewhat safe, seeing as their departments aren't as redundant as other departments? There will definitely be some redundancies. I mean, people in WWE are expecting that.
Yep.
When it finalizes, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, that is unfortunate that that's likely to happen. It happens all the time, though.
Yep, it's a common thing, and it is going to happen. And Endeavor has said it's going to happen. But I think so long as Vince is on his leave, everybody related to talent is safe, I believe. And so Regal's not going anywhere. Hunter would not let that happen.
Happy Rachel Kate says, Sean, is the September show in India, PLE, being broadcast, or is it a super house show? I believe it's a super house show that will be filmed, and they might do it on Peacock or something like that. Also, she says, Jimmy, time to accept the hump. He did. And
Fightful's the hump.
Man in Spokane says, hump on, mother humpers. Bolton says, after EO's great cash in and babyface celebration, will Damage Control stay together as a more babyface group? EO versus Bayley civil war with Kai not wrestling, but aligning with EO after Asuka and Charlotte defenses, doing DC civil war at Mania with a fit Kai. Man, I don't think Dakota Kai is going to be ready for Mania. The ACL, man, it's going to be a while, probably a year from the injury that she's going to be out. And again, she traveled in for that, but it was very last minute. Like she found out about 7-8 hours before. I know WWE had mentioned there was going to be, in a conversation I had, something big and newsworthy, and that's what they were hinting at me in the days before. But I think that Bayley and EO liked staying together. I think this is the new wave, Jimmy. We saw it with New Day. We see it with Trick Williams and Carmelo. A lot of these teams just want to stay together and don't want to do the breakup.
Yep, and I mean they've teased Bayley and EO splitting, but you can tell obviously behind the scenes they're really close, and it was nice to see Dakota. You could tell that she was favoring the leg a little bit, but it was nice to see her in there for that moment. That was a great moment at SummerSlam.
It was great. Colt says, congrats on 300 episodes, hoping for nothing but continued success for everyone at Fightful. Any word on Bill Alfonso joining RVD tonight or a possible Wembley appearance? That duo was always my favorite. I loved Bill Alfonso. I hated that whistle. There were some people I talked to that were surprised that he didn't appear with RVD last week because he was local to the area. Like he lived not far from the venue, apparently. But I think it would make an awful lot of sense to have him in there. I hope they do. Fonzie's been looking great lately. He's been doing a lot more appearances. So Anime Otaku says, next week, the first hump. Matt, appreciate all you guys do. Thank you. Thank you, Alex Marie. Meet Norma says, congrats on 300. Long live the hump. My thoughts on Collision are that as long as the shows are quality, they'll have a strong library of content for a future streaming deal. That's a thing, Jimmy. Like, they have options. Like, if they want to continue doing Dark and Elevation after they land a streaming deal and it's with WBD, well, then WBD will be like, hell yeah, more footage for us. Otherwise, they're going to have enough footage for their own service, plus the entire AEW and ROH back catalog. Who knows what Tony Khan might procure as well? Like, Who knows? He can buy the Extreme Wrestling Coalition library soon.
Good memory, Sean.
There we go.
You know what? I mean, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They definitely expect a streaming deal to be part of their next package. And I saw people again are, writing Collision's eulogy after the rating last Saturday, but they had such massive competition, competition that the sky is not falling, so they know what they're doing.
We'll have some other interesting Collision news coming soon on Fightful Select. How about this? On the list goes on, I'll break the current date and location for AEW Full Gear. Subscribe, $5 a month. Enjoy. Speed Punk says, what's your pick to win the championship at NWA 75, EC3, or Tyrus? Listen, EC3 and I have had an up and down relationship. The goofy shit that he said on the air with us last year wasn't great, but he's always treated me very, very well. But he sort of gained the ire of a lot of people online. And NWA is like, well, we know how to turn him babyface. Try to get Tyrus to retire. I don't think that NWA is done wringing what they can out of Tyrus. And he is legitimately a net positive for their business. I know that to be true. It still sucks. I think he can be that without being the top champion because he's not good. But I think Tyrus is going to win this, Jimmy.
Can you define net positive?
For example, I can tell you that Matt Cardona told me that by far Tyrus is the best-selling figure in their line.
Is that right?
Like, not even close is what he told me.
Because of the Fox stuff that he does.
Thing. Exactly. I can tell you that somebody I know was asked what they do for a living recently, and they said, I'm in the pro wrestling business, and they're like, oh, is that like that Tyrus guy on Fox?
You're kidding.
No.
Wow.
And that person said, well, not exactly.
Wow.
And
he's got a platform on Fox, man. I guess it's working.
Amir says PW Insider and Observer reported that Carlito signed with WWE. Is it accurate? I don't doubt that he's en route or anything. Maybe he's signed. I haven't confirmed that 100%. As far as him appearing on screen with every signing in WWE, I'll believe it when I see it.
What about
no hires? No hires since December.
What do you think about Kyrie Sane?
Yeah, same with her.
Thing.
Jimmy Fingers says, I was really hoping for Punk Omega at Wembley. When Samoa Joe came to make a challenge on Collision, I was hoping it'd be Miro who answered that challenge. I'd be okay with Punk versus Joe if I didn't see it 3 weeks ago. That's my thing. I think they should not have run it then.
Agreed.
But also, I think they probably had different plans as well. I don't even know if Joe was planned for Wembley, Jimmy, because he was going to be off promoting this Twisted Metal movie for quite a while. They didn't expect to have him for Death Before Dishonor. And then all of a sudden, well, you're not out promoting things because that's crossing the picket line as well. So, so Joe versus Punk at Wembley, how do you feel? I think it's a good marquee match.
Yeah, I agree with what he's saying. Again, it's the situation where they've already sold the tickets and they're going to draw on pay-per-view in large part because of the spectacle of it. Like a lot of people are going to be checking it out because they're curious. When all is said and done, this is going to be the largest attended show in the history of wrestling, excluding the WCW North Korea show. And that doesn't count because that was mandatory attendance. So this is going to break the record and be the highest attended show. There's going to be a lot of curious buys. And I don't know if the card is going to matter as much as a result, but I agree with what he's saying. I think if we hadn't have already seen Punk and Joe, it would have been more appealing. Maybe there's a lot of stipulation to it. I also think Joe and Miro would be a hell of a matchup.
I do too. I think that's one that you got to do in Collision in the future. And if you're worried about how or where you're going to watch AEW All In, All Out, or any pay-per-view, check out nordvpn.com/Fightful. They have a great deal, several months free as well. This is one of the most versatile sponsors that we've ever had, and they are just incredible to us. Hope to work with them for years in the future because I've used NordVPN for years as well. When we're mitigating those costs, we're controlling those costs. Controlling the cost of those pay-per-views is very important, and Nord allows you to change your virtual location with just one click. You can purchase a subscription, download the app, connect to a VPN server on all your devices. Phone, laptop, desktop, PC. I put it on my router at my house, so I'm able to change my virtual location and get these overseas apps and get pay-per-views on those services with that. Also, you have that great online threat protection. I'm going to be real. I got people trying to get into my stuff all the time because there are weirdos on the internet. Fortunately, I'm protected with NordVPN, and it's not just at my house. It's at the airport. It's at restaurants. It's at venues. It's at hotels. That Wi-Fi is often unsecured. NordVPN helps protect you. The pay-per-views that happened this past weekend, when I came home, I watched SummerSlam on WWE Network on an overseas service. I was able to watch the replay of the Jake Paul, Nate Diaz fight and didn't have to spend full price on it. NordVPN, you're going to end up saving money with this service. Check them out. They are just incredible to us, and I want them to be incredible to you guys. KE775. Sean, Jimmy, have you heard any updates about the WWE media rights deal? Meltzer mentioned that he doesn't think Fox will pay significantly more. Could that mean networks are in play? Yeah, Jimmy, this is something that you mentioned that Nick Khan brought up. Yep. Nick Khan said they're taking their sweet time because they're expecting to get a lot more.
Yeah, he said the starting point is higher now than it was the last time around. And so he said it takes longer conversations. I do believe, they haven't said anything, but I believe that the numbers that have been presented to them do not match their expectations. And I believe that is why they have not closed a deal yet. I mean, it's August. The last time around, they closed it in June. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's part of the reason. I think that they have not seen the numbers they were expecting. And it makes sense to me about the Fox thing, that Fox isn't, maybe looking to pay the kind of numbers that they might be expecting.
Yeah.
I think ultimately they will get an increase, but will they get an increase at the level that they were thinking?
I want to say this. If we get to a situation where Disney is a serious contender for SmackDown, if I'm a stockholder, I'm going to side-eye Vince McMahon and say, why wouldn't Disney have just bought the whole thing? And then it's like, oh, because you're going to portray it as if they weren't a better offer than the merger with Endeavor. Because it's hard for me to imagine Disney would buy just the rights to this instead of the rights to monetize the whole shebang in any capacity that they wanted.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Disney was ever at the table because I know
we don't know.
They announced some of it, like they announced who some of the players were, but I can't remember. Liberty Media was one, but sure. I don't recall some of the others.
Caden says, thoughts on the Alabama boat brawl. I'm going to try to do some commentary over the various angles very soon. So that's stay tuned for that. That was great. I'm a big fan of street fights. Like if you see me up online at 2 or 3 a.m., there's a good chance I'm on Reddit watching street fight videos.
Good to know. Good to know.
Patchy Rick says, congrats on 300. I'm more excited for the Fightful Select show. The hump goes on. We're going to keep it. The list goes on over there to keep the spirit of it. Amber says, one of the reasons I love Fightful is entirely definitely because of the gals of Fightful. Kate, Maggie, Denise, Cresta, Iridian, Linda, everyone else. Maggie, I'm so excited. We're going to hang out at Wembley for London. I am so excited for that. Just maybe we'll film some content and stuff there as well. But very excited. She is a wonderful part of the team. The type of person everybody should want as a part of their team. Juan just says AEW. Rock Hard says, Jimmy and Sean, need both of your opinions 6 months from now. Is Vince still in the company? Does he have a major say in creative? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to say, unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, first one, yes, for sure. I mean, even if the government does bring about charges, you're not wrapping that up in 6 months. So, yes, for sure. And the other one, it's going to be dependent to me on if anything happens with this, as a result of this Fed raid. If that leads to charges, then I'll say no, because he'll be on the sidelines pending the outcome. So it's going to be based on that.
Bridget Hewlett, always so great to us. Thank you, Bridget. What a beautiful cat. What a beautiful cat. Hopefully that's Melissa's cat, and it went to Bridget's house and just hung out there the last couple days. Congrats on number 300. Y'all are awesome. Next Fightful Awards, can I sponsor an award for Danhausen? So the way that works, and by the way, if you do want to sponsor a Fightful Award, you can go ahead and hit up me and Kate, and we'll get those done well ahead of time. But it's more of sponsoring like specific categories because we don't know who's going to win them. But I mean, we could also do a thing where we do like playful awards as well that get sponsored for that. But we're already in the active planning stages for the Fightful Awards next year because Will was a big part of those awards and now he's gone. So I have to have somebody to do editing, help me with hosting. Kate is looking for a trophy sponsor. If you are a trophy company and you want us to heavily promote your product or want to be the exclusive trophy sponsor, we're looking into that as well. we're making plans for that already, as well as condensing some of the topics. And I'm very excited, Jimmy, to find out what trash can one of our awards ends up in after Lexington when I get that to CM Punk.
When is that?
Week and a half.
A week and a half. Okay.
Week and a half.
I don't know, man. I mean, he's I'm sure he's gotten his share of awards over the course of his career, and I haven't seen too many Instagram photos with them.
Got to be real. They're real good awards, though.
They are very nice awards. They are. I wonder who came up with that. Who came up with that?
I don't know.
The design and everything.
I got the idea. I would love to do different ones every year, but those are very good if we need to do them. But it made me very happy that like you would see Excalibur and Hook, and Cody Rhodes sent me one of his as well. Like a lot of people are very, very proud of these awards. I bet Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, has it sitting right up next to her doctorate. Guaranteed.
I'm sure it's at her office.
Yes.
It's got its own shelf up there.
300. Congrats. Love all the Fightful people. Speaking of Greg Cherry here, his 3-year anniversary shows this evening. I'll be swinging by very quickly at 7 p.m. Eastern. Show him some love. He's a great person. Do you know why AEW is doing Bucks and Hardy on Dynamite instead of a pay-per-view? Because at this point, Jimmy, Bucks and Hardys is not the draw that it was the first time they did it or the first time they did it in AEW.
Yeah, it sounds like everybody wants FTR and the Bucks, and I think with Jeff Hardy, you take the opportunities when you can take advantage of them.
Sure.
Because he has a history of showing that you can't necessarily depend on him. So do you want to advertise him for a show 3-4 weeks from now? I think they're better to just get it done.
We've got Big J saying, congrats on 300. Sean, were you surprised, positive or negative about the Lufisto interview? The interview almost exploded the internet. Almost anything that I do in that situation, I got to be honest, like I know that some negative is going to emerge from it just because my face is next to hers on the camera, because there are some weirdos like that. But anytime a wrestler speaks negatively about an experience with a company, I know that there's going to be some of that. And honestly, we don't do that a lot. I don't like doing a ton of that, really. I'm not a gotcha guy for people that are like, oh, why aren't you asking this, this, and this? Why aren't you catching somebody in this? I'm not a big gotcha guy. I'm not. I report news. I like wrestling. If hard topics need to be covered, well, we cover them. But this to me was just a little bit different. It was somebody speaking at length on a kind of negative situation. I didn't think there was anything that serious involved. I think she should have gotten her interview with somebody at AEW if she drove in for the coaching role. But as far as like the Ruby, the Dustin stuff, people don't like you. Okay. I mean, my approach to that has always been, I don't mind if people don't like me. You can dislike me all you want. Don't act personal. Don't make shit up. We're good to go. So ultimately, if somebody doesn't like me, I'm like, well, that's a bummer. I wish everybody did, but probably not gonna do a full interview about it. But I understand at her point of her career, she's very frustrated, and I do like and respect her a lot. Bizarro says the hump goes all day, then boom goes the dynamite. With the major losses from Disney the past 6 months, estimates as high as $4 billion for the closed hotel and $1 billion in theaters, is it most likely that USA and Fox are keeping the rights? If not, who does? Well, this is why I mentioned that side-eye thing, Jimmy. I think it's harder. It would have been harder for Disney to make money on the TV rights than it would be the actual company. Because if they have the actual company, they can monetize any number of people any way that they want. That's... Yeah, I mean, we'd be able to see Roman Reigns hit Goofy with a Superman punch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Disney was a player. I think the price tag probably had a lot to do with it. And to answer their question, I will be stunned if USA does not re-sign Raw. I think there's no way they don't, because they need WWE badly in order to maintain their ranking among other networks. So I'll be stunned if USA does not maintain Raw. It won't surprise me if Fox doesn't maintain or re-sign SmackDown, though. That won't surprise me. Yeah. Broadcast television is a different animal, but USA, I'll be stunned if they don't re-sign Raw. I expect them to.
BC Aron says, first found out about Fightful from Sean being on Quizzlemania and been watching ever since. Big fan of you and the Grapsody guys. Congrats on 300 shows. I mean, I want to thank Wrestle Talk. They had me on an awful lot, and it really, really did help us. It's so funny. I filmed Survival Series when I was there last month, and I've still been getting tweets about it. Like, as people are like, oh, why did you do so good on Quizlemania and not on Survival Series? Is it because you had a monitor in front of your face? And I was like, Quizlemania. If you cheat at Quizlemania, you are scum of the earth. Like that is, if you resort to that. I don't update our resources section anymore. Rob Wilkins does that. So I'm not constantly like, okay, who is the chronological Royal Rumble winner every year? What I did an article on every WrestleMania result at one point. Also, I didn't realize we were allowed to prepare for those things. And then I find out in the comments section, oh, this person must have been prepared. This person must have practiced. I'm like, well, I found out 10 minutes before I did these.
How do you prepare? I haven't seen.
It is like a topic, reverse chronological order. So like SummerSlam main events, reverse chronological order. If I don't have to go in reverse chronological order, I'm all right. But also during the pandemic, I had nothing to do but sit around and learn more about wrestling, to be quite honest with you. So I am well beyond that point. If it was something and it wasn't reverse chronological order, I would probably be in a much, much better situation than that. But Amir says, any update on Brock Lesnar's schedule? Yeah, he's not due to be around for a while.
I honestly thought at SummerSlam it looked like he was bidding farewell because, I've heard that since, but
sure.
At the time, between taking the gloves off and then finding out that what he did with Cody afterwards was improvised and not planned out.
Allegedly, I don't believe Triple H in these. I don't believe Triple H in these pressers. Him trying to say, "Oh, well, Vince is not involved day to day." Bullshit, bro. Bullshit. Rock Hard says, I've lost faith in Vince's creative years ago, but the shows are generally better than 2021, early 2022. Is that a sign Triple H is getting more stuff in, or that Vince isn't making major changes? Well, Vince hasn't been making changes the last couple of weeks. He's on painters, I'd imagine, from spine surgery.
Painters
is what they call them here in Kentucky. But I think you can tell based on the Gable, Ciampa, Riddle, I can't remember who else was in that match. Ricochet match. That's a Triple H booking right there. Triple H is getting more stuff through, but man, that 2019 through 2022 booking was just abysmal. It was brutal. It was real bad. And Triple H has his own bad tropes as well. And we're seeing a lot more rematches of late, but I think it's more Triple H than Vince over the last couple of weeks. Matt Hennessy has our last super chat not the last one now. Says, do you think it's someone in WWE or Endeavor waited until the merger was near finishing before leaking more criminal evidence of Vince to the government? Interesting how things have panned out within the last 2 weeks. I feel like any and all information that goes to Wall Street Journal, CNN, etc., in a wrestling capacity is very strategically put out there. Now, if it goes to like TMZ or Variety, it's probably WWE or AEW or somebody like that leaking it, or Sports Illustrated. But if it's like to a major outlet that is tied directly to something stockholders will listen to, it's WWE, somebody in that company being very calculated, wanting it to get a particular amount of coverage in a specific way.
He's talking about what I mentioned earlier about leaking to the government as opposed to the media. And
leaking to the government. Yeah,
leaking to the government. I mean, I don't know how long Endeavor has known that they were going to close mid to late September. I don't know how long they've known that. What we do know is that, or what I can assume is that when that stuff happened to Vince, when they got raided by the feds on July 17th, I think it was, I'm sure Endeavor knew then. Even though WWE didn't disclose it until a week ago, I'm sure Endeavor knew on July 17th, hey, Vince McMahon got raided by the feds. And so who knows if they expedited the process to close the deal because they thought this is our opportunity to be rid of them. It's all hypothetical, kind of like Marty Jannetty on Dark Side. It's all hypothetical.
Which we'll be talking about on the list goes on, apparently.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
Will Chisholm says, happy for all y'all. SRS, in your judgment, do you think the possible cuts will be behind the camera or will it affect the roster? I think mainly redundant stuff will not be on camera, but it's hard for me to say what they'll look at and say, oh, okay, here we go. I hope it's not on camera. I hope they just throw their arms up and go, we need everybody. I don't want anybody to lose their job.
Sure.
There are going to be some redundancies, unfortunately. We've also got Tony saying, Jimmy, Sean, can you talk about the Endeavor antitrust ruling that just came out and how it could affect the merger with WWE or the new company after it? Well, it could affect the MLW lawsuit is what
I haven't heard about it. An Endeavor
Yeah.
antitrust? I haven't heard about it.
Yeah, due to the UFC and their contract structures and stuff like that. Tony, I'm still digging into this, but I'll tell you what, with Endeavor merging with WWE, it could mean that MLW and WWE settle out of court, which is really, really good news for Court Bauer.
Oh, they will settle out of court. There's no question. So I know a lot about the legal system. As soon as WWE was unable to get the case thrown out and it went into deposition and now they're doing discovery and all of that, they are going to settle. There's no question. And it's just going to matter. Yeah. It's going to depend on how much and how long. Is WWE going to let it stretch out longer to let them bleed some more legal money, or are they just going to let it go?
Shout out to Wrestling Perspective Podcast, Dennis Farrell. You can catch him every Monday here on Fightful with Lars Fredrickson. The last few weeks, he had been with Ace Steel. They interviewed Eric Young this week on the show. We also get early notes on that on FightfulSelect.com. And in mere minutes, we will be on, the list goes on Fightful Select, where I'll break news of the location and date currently for Full Gear. Joel says, should AEW be running smaller venues? I don't think so. I think it's just fine if they scale them. Like they scaled Rupp Arena.
That's what they do. Yeah.
Yeah. They scale them. They put themselves in nice venues with good amenities and plenty of parking, and then they scale them. And that's okay because the reality is most of these places don't have a lot of events on the docket for Wednesdays. Wednesday is not a big event night for most places.
They also know to be smart about the market. So they know in Chicago we can run a 10,000 seater, but in, I don't know, Fargo, North Dakota, they're going to run like a 4,000 or 5,000 seater. Like they're pretty smart about that. So I think they're fine.
How about this for Fightful Select? Maybe I'll get some Bray news on Thursday. How about that?
Bray Wyatt?
How about some Bray Wyatt news on Thursday?
Okay.
William Rabb says, confident Bloodline can turn this around Friday. Buddy, there ain't nothing about that story that makes me think that Roman Reigns needed that title at all. Jimmy, 300 episodes. I just want to say an incredible support via super chats, humper chats. We've toyed with the format of this show numerous times. You used to have a physical list. Now we just kind of go where the audience goes and what some of the more interesting topics are. But yeah, 300. Do you have anything to say?
No, not really. I appreciate the support. I still have a physical list. It's still in front of me, but I know that super chats are taking over, and that's totally cool. But no, it's been a great run so far. Like I said, this happened unexpectedly. I did not intend to come into this thing 7 years ago being a podcaster in any sense. I did it because I thought I could depend on myself, and things are working out, man. And this is the only thing I do now. I cut the Know Your News one on Thursday. I pass the reins on to somebody else. And I just maintain this one once a week just because I love
my dream, Jimmy.
I love looking at your pretty face, Sean.
My dream is to just do this show, do 10 minutes at the top of every review show, and write the news. That's my dream.
There you go.
Do the Adam Schefter role in the NFL, and also not have Twitter. That would be a big one. I mean, my Twitter would still be alive, but become Fightful Community Outreach or something on Twitter.
Did you hear about Barstool Sports?
About the deal?
Yeah. It's unbelievable. There
are reasons for that, about them
getting
of course. That back. They can't get
deal.
a betting. Yeah, they can't. I mean, the ESPN deal for that company is significantly better.
Sure.
Barstool cannot get a betting sponsor in a time where it's blowing up. Who knows where it'll be in 3 years, 3 years. And also that company, if Barstool were to liquidate, would get 50% of whatever that liquidation would be. So
sure, but they sold it back to him for nothing.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn good. Damn good.
It seems like it's good for everybody, honestly. That's a very rare situation.
It's very, very interesting because like you just said, because I saw some social media discourse, people were like, why the hell would Penn give it back to Portnoy for free? It's because of what you just said. They just signed this I think it's like $1 billion or multi-billion dollar ESPN deal, which supersedes the Barstool deal. And so that's why they did it. Very fascinating. So Portnoy gets $500 million for the company and then gets it back for nothing. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Caden says, Jimmy, can you expense me and Sean to go to the Bengals-Jags game? I don't know if I'll be watching the Bengals-Jags game, Caden. Doja Cat is in concert in Columbus. I'm going to see how that tour goes before I commit to buying tickets for it. But
Caden Lee, the answer is no. Sean just said, answer is no.
There you go. The answer is no, Caden. Guys, I just want to thank you all so much. Head over to the list goes on, FightfulSelect.com. I've mentioned this before. We're in the dog days of summer, so numbers are kind of down and all that stuff. Drop $5. I promise it's worth it. Also, wanted to mention, upcoming the day of All In, we have a new show debuting here on Fightful with Rob Wilkins and Cameron Hawkins, the infamous Seahawk. Make sure you guys check it out. It'll be dropping that afternoon. Rob has done just an incredible amount of stuff for us, and Cameron Hawkins will be joining him for My Point Is August 27th on Fightful. Also, I mean, that will be a largely super chat driven show as well. So that show will depend on your support and all that. Get us to 100,000 subscribers, please. And I mean on Patreon, not here on YouTube. Get us to 100,000 Patreon.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Sean be like, Jimmy, it's time to talk about our dividend.
Yeah, it certainly would be. Guys, thank you all so much. Next week, the humping era begins. Oh, I hope you guys are ready to get humped.
I'm already regretting it.
We're out.